Hi there. If you're currently drinking more than you want to, you probably woke up on a Sunday, if you're anything like me in my drinking days, and wish that you had drank less on the Saturday, and you've berated yourself for not having enough willpower, and you've wondered what's wrong with you. Maybe you've said to yourself, why is it that I'm in control of everything else apart from alcohol? Like, why am I weak? Why do I not have enough willpower? What's wrong with me? I wanted to share a few things with you, which I wish I'd known it when I was drinking, and I think could be quite helpful for you. The first thing to know is if you're drinking more than you want and you're beating yourself up because you haven't got enough willpower, then it's not actually your fault, and it's not a lack of willpower. Some of the people that I work with that have struggled with alcohol are some of the strongest, most determined people that I've met, and they've got tons of resilience and they've got tons of willpower. It's not that they're lacking in willpower, it's just that alcohol is an addictive substance. And what I mean by that is once you have one drink, it will create a desire for another. So if before you went out on a Saturday night, you said to yourself, right, I'm not having any more than 3 glasses of wine, because if I have more than that, I'll get drunk, and I don't want that to happen. The problem with making that decision is that it sounds sensible, but when something is addictive, it doesn't behave in a logical way. Because once you've had one drink, that one drink will create a desire for another, and that will create a desire for another. And there'll probably be a point, if you're like me, where you end up drinking more than you want to, and you get past the point of no return. And past that point of no return for me was where I realised that, I'd wake up the next morning and I drank way more than I wanted to, but I had no recollection after a certain point. So you get to a point when you're drinking and you're it's not even like your willpower, but like your whole cognitive function, your reasoning, your logic, all of that goes out the window. And the answer is not trying to find more reserves of willpower, right? I just want to talk a little bit about willpower because it's the number one biggest misunderstood thing, I believe, in terms of alcohol. So even if you have superhuman willpower, right? Let's say that you are an amazing, and I'm sure you are an amazing, incredible individual, and you are incredibly determined, right? Let's just look at what willpower is. What willpower is, if we use willpower, we're effectively stopping ourselves from doing something that we want to do, right? So we're using willpower to not drink. What that means is we want to drink, but we're making ourselves not drink. So we're making ourselves not do something that we actually want to do, right? And that's pretty tough, right? So that means for every hour or every night that you're not drinking, you actually are battling a desire to drink. Now, if we're fighting against ourselves, it's exhausting, right? And something will happen, and it might be that you just have a difficult day at work, or it might be that you've had a really bad night's sleep, but you don't have unlimited reserves of willpower. It's a bit like a muscle. So if you've had to use up a lot of willpower getting through a really difficult day at work, you're not going to have any left to battle with alcohol, and at some point it will run out. And here's the other thing. If you're listening to this and you're saying, well, I've got amazing willpower and it never runs out, the other thing I'd say to you is there's actually a better way, because if you've resisted drinking using willpower for a few days or a few weeks or a few months, then that doesn't feel good, right? Because it's exhausting and it's taking up a lot of your brain power. It's taking a lot of your energy. It's taking a lot of your reserves. You're not actually going to be enjoying your life the way that you could be if the only way that you're able to not drink is through willpower. So I'm sharing that with you because I remember what it was like for years to wake up on a Sunday and feel really horrible, like just really upset, like physically not feeling great at all, mentally just being racked with anxiety, with like fear, like just feeling embarrassed, feeling dreadful, feeling upset, feeling annoyed at myself, spending the day apologizing, always on the back foot, people pleasing, and like having a really miserable day, which is really sad when you think that, if that's a Sunday, then, you know, that's one of your days off. That's the day that you should be relaxing, enjoying yourself before you go back to work. And if you're drinking, then the chances are you probably drink more on a Saturday because there's a feeling that it's the weekend, right? So the answer is not to beat yourself up if that's how you're feeling right now. And the answer is not to exert more willpower. The answer is actually to do some work in terms of understanding the reasons why you wanted to drink. And it's only when we're willing to look at the root cause and we're looking to understand why we feel that we need alcohol, and we're willing to see alcohol differently, that we can actually make a change. If you continue trying to use willpower, then you'll continue to stay stuck. And I'm saying this as someone that tried loads of things, right? I tried to only drink at the weekend, right? So I said to myself, right, okay, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that's it. And then I remember sometimes on a Sunday night, I'd find myself drinking more than I normally would because I felt like, well, I'm not going to have any until Friday. So I might as well have some more. And at the time I realised, well, that's not really a great solution if I'm waking up even more hungover on a Monday. And then I remember thinking, well, Thursday is really like a Friday, so I could have a glass on a Thursday, and it just didn't work. I tried those apps that you get where you put in the number of units, and lo and behold, if I was having a good day, I would be really keen to put in the number of units. And then if I was out and about and, you know, it was somebody's birthday, somebody else was drinking, it was a good day, it was a bad day, whatever the reason was, if I found a reason to drink more, I would just ignore the app. So that didn't really work. I bought all the different like self-help books, and I think they always make you feel good at the time, right? You get a bit of a dopamine hit and it's like problem solved. But I would read them. I wouldn't do the exercises, or I would even just put it on the shelf. I had a friend that used to call it shelf help because it went on the shelf and I didn't really use it, but I didn't realize it at the time. But you know, they're not customized for you individually, so it's quite hard, you know, to buy a book. And I don't think there's many people that have like solved their problems by buying a book. I tried having a soft drink, tried having water in between alcoholic drinks, but you know, when you're having rounds and stuff like that, there would just come a point where that I forgot to do that. And none of the things that I tried addressed the reasons why I was drinking, and that's why I was stuck for so long. So if you're feeling awful today, I just want you to know that it isn't your fault. You're not a weak person. You're not flawed. You don't have some defective gene. There's nothing wrong with you. If you drank too much alcohol last night, please know that alcohol is a highly addictive substance, and we are marketed to and conditioned to believe that it's this harmless elixir that, you know, everybody that has an interest in life drinks, and it shouldn't be a problem. And if you drink too much, you should just exercise more self-control. And that is just not true. You know, you wouldn't give somebody cocaine and just tell them to exercise self-control. So I don't know why alcohol companies are allowed to pretend that that is the solution for alcohol. But the solution is to be honest with yourself and to start looking at the reasons why you drink, because you won't get control of an addictive substance by just focusing on the behavior. We have to look at why we're drinking. So I'm happy to share more information about this. You're welcome to look at my website, but it really, the problem is not you. The problem is the substance. And once you learn that, you can actually move forward, because once you stop beating yourself up, you can start building your self-esteem. Once you stop blaming yourself, you can start understanding better the different reasons why you're turning to alcohol, and you can start making a change. And I would encourage you right now, if you are beating yourself up, if you are feeling down about how much you drank, just give yourself a break, right? Why don't you decide that you're going to do something different? And I'm happy to come back and I'll share more tips about what to do. Thanks.